Hi, everybody. This is Kim Weeks with Weeks Well events in our Fostering Transformation series. I'm so excited to be back again on Wednesdays at noon Eastern and different times all over the world to join with Ryan McGraw in Sangha, which is called Community, and to have you learn from him a yoga class that is accessible, an accessible yoga class taught by Ryan McGraw, who is an RYT 200, right, Ryan?
Yes.
Yeah, he's an RYT 200 who is also a person with cerebral palsy, which means he has multiple, infinite lived experiences that he can offer when he teaches this yoga class today. So I will say first, I'm so glad for everybody joining. I know we have a ton of people who are watching these on recording, and we're trying to come up with like the best clips, that can teach people on social media and give them a reason to click through and take this content in on a like longer form basis. And so one of the things that came up last week that Lois Steinberg, whom I adore and I also learn from in the Iyengar yoga tradition, she emailed me and asked Ryan if you'd ever lived in Oregon. You haven't lived in Oregon, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so she mistook you for another person with cerebral palsy named Ryan, who worked with the Iyengar yoga community in Oregon. Anyway, and Lois knew about him. And
I did take a class from Lois before.
Was it in Oregon?
No.
Oh, interesting. That's amazing. So that she may have just mixed up the intersections or interactions, but that's really good to know, because Lois is going to be with us, in a week and a half with a bunch of other women who are yoga therapists. And the thing that Lois Steinberg, as not only a certified Iyengar yoga teacher, but also yoga therapist, said was that she agreed completely with Ryan's statement in the clip that we shared with all of you on the event email, which we send every Tuesday. And what Ryan said was, we're not asking for special treatment. We're not asking for anything other than to be treated like a person who's coming in to take a yoga class. And it was just such a great moment, Ryan. We clipped it, Lois agreed, and there's just been some conversation around it. So I want to say I'm just so happy that in the context of this Fostering Transformation event, in which, as Weeks Well, our mission is to foster transformation, what we're trying to do is, help you transform your understanding of like what you're doing on planet Earth, for what, for whom, and certainly as it is infused with your yoga practice. And so we have two questions we want to ask you right before we start. I'm just so happy to see so many people here. Everybody who registered came, which is like unheard of in the webinar registration attendance, world. And so the first question is, are you, we're going to have the questions come up on the screen. Are you a yoga student, a yoga teacher, or both? If you could let us know, that would be amazing. Thank you. And how did you hear about this event? I know that Alyssa's got a second to, oh yeah, we're waiting. Oh, thank you so much. And then she'll ask the next question, which is, how did you hear about this event? And when that comes up, please. It's taking a minute. Ryan, good. Now you can get yourself organized to teach, because we are, I think this is the second time we've ever put out questions. Hang on one second. Here. I just launched the question. How did you hear about this session? I just figured it out. If you could let us know if it was Weeks Well newsletter, other newsletters, social media, or other, we would love to know, how did you hear about this? And, what brings you here today, basically. So anyway, thank you for answering those two questions. This is a 75-minute class, and so it will end at 1:15 Eastern. And so I'm having an internet outage in my area, so I'm hotspotting my introduction, and to just kind of suck the bandwidth out of the meeting, I'm going to drop off as soon as I introduce Ryan, and just be on the phone. So if you have any questions, or as we end the meeting, you'll hear my voice but not see my face, because I'm just going to be calling in on the phone. And so anyway, Ryan, it's such a delight to have you again. We felt so, first of all, like I said to you last week, the Fostering Transformation series of the Weeks Well event, sort of platform is changing us, and it's teaching us so much. And I've just been feeling so much gratitude and awareness over the last week that COVID brought us together. If you could believe it, like there are many silver linings in COVID. And one of those is the connections we've been able to make with like-minded and values-driven, mission-driven people. So Ryan McGraw is, as I've already introduced, an RYT 200 and person with cerebral palsy, and someone who is part of the accessible yoga. I think you've got the link up there somewhere, accessible yoga, basically movement. As I described last week, I keep thinking that it is a socio-cultural, almost subcultural, yoga movement, because what it attempts to show and define is that any varied, infinite bodies are, have every right to access yoga in the way that anybody else can. There's no sort of hierarchical, maybe that's not the right word, Ryan, but you can speak to that because you spoke to it so eloquently last week. And so Ryan agreed, as part of this Fostering Transformation series, to come in and teach a yoga class that is taught from a chair, which is a super accessible way of doing things, if you think about it, because we all use chairs more than we use, our feet, our walking, or anything else. It is a very it's a very grounding idea, and I love it. So I'm going to drop off now and say, enjoy Ryan McGraw's class. I'm so excited to take this from you, Ryan. You'll see me leave the meeting, but you'll see my phone icon stay. And thanks again for everything. If we'll just sort of pop in at 5 minutes before we're due to end to see if anybody has any questions. Is that okay with you?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So I'm gonna do a 40 to 45 minute class, and then you'll have time to do a Q&A at the end. What I wanted to say before we get started with class, Kim in her comments alluded to the yoga community being accessible and classes being accessible. And that word, accessible yoga, is so important. We often hear the word adaptation. However, when you think of the word adaptation or accommodation, you think that you need to do something in a different way or make something up to please them, please people. However, if you make the world accessible for everyone, you're not changing anything. You're just making it accessible to people, that to everyone, really, not just people with disabilities, everyone as a world as a whole. So something to remember in this yoga practice, do the poses that I do, that I am showing to the best of your ability. There is no wrong or right way to do a pose. Just simply do don't do anything that you feel causes pain or injury. That is so important. And really, I know we are doing it in a webinar format, so I can't see you, but just honor your body's needs, take breaks in when you need to, and let's get started.